WQAD News 8, this is WQAD This Week.
Good morning. It's Sunday, April 9th. Thank you for joining us for News 8 This Week. I'm John Diaz. More and more students are headed back to the classroom in Illinois, at least when we talk about community colleges. Across the state, spring enrollment jumping 7%. That's the biggest increase in the last 4 years. Blackhawk College helping fuel that trend with a 2% increase this past year. But this story is about more than just numbers. It's also about the programs that are getting the most traction. And joining us now is Brian Durham. Brian, hey, thanks so much for taking the time this week to talk with us.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Brian, let's talk a little bit about the spring enrollment numbers, kind of different ways to look at this, but you also saw an increase in community college enrollment in Illinois. Tell us about what you saw.
Well, we saw, I think, one of the largest increases we've seen in probably since 2009 and 2010 year. Our total increase was about 7.2%. And what I think is also really promising is it was our second increase really coming out of the pandemic. We had a slight increase in the fall as well. And overall, we had really 39 of the 48 community colleges that saw an increase. And, I think there's a number of reasons for that. But we're very excited and very optimistic that this is really a signal that we're going to be trending back towards pre-pandemic levels of enrollment in the state.
And this is sort of an obvious question, but why is that a good thing?
Well, we certainly want folks to fulfill their career goals and their educational goals, and community colleges are an affordable option for that. It's really, I think, the number one place to get hands-on training. I mean, in addition to the really large population of students we have that transfer on to universities, we also do a lot of career technical education in the community colleges. And so if somebody wants to be a welder, they're now comfortable and feel good about going back to campus and doing that hands-on work that I think in the last few years certainly has been a little more challenging for folks. So it's a return to normal, I think, in many ways.
Obviously, this kind of follows a trend of some decreases and some sort of changes in the way folks were enrolled. A lot of numbers in the latest report that you guys put out. Can you give us context into kind of what the pandemic brought us in terms of enrollment decreases? It looks like from in person, but there were some increases obviously in online enrollment. Is that right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, we saw some pretty significant decreases in the pandemic, I think, for all the reasons that folks understand. I mean, for a long time, everything was online, and that was not only the things you sort of think of that might make sense, but a lot of career programs, again, that are hands-on. Faculty were working so incredibly hard to figure out, and colleges to how to serve individuals throughout that. And so they were doing simulations, they were doing online work. I mean, really, they were innovating and being nimble and, being able to meet the needs of students. But nonetheless, you still saw a drop off in the pandemic that we are seeing come back. And one of the interesting trends that we're seeing now too, just in addition to this, return to hands-on work and feeling good about going to campus, is our numbers of online students are actually up pretty significantly still. So I think everyone has not only, they're feeling like they can come back to campus, but students overall are much more comfortable with online learning. And we're certainly not at that, I think around 47% we were at during the pandemic, but we're still pretty significantly above where we were on online for pre-pandemic instruction. So you have students who might, they're coming to campus, but they might take one class online where prior to the pandemic they may not have been willing or felt like they were able to do that. And so you had a lot of learning in that way by students, faculty, institutions all around.
And Brian, can you tell us what these dual credit courses are that you offer, and what you've seen and what trends you've seen with that?
Yeah, the dual credit is a high school course that is evaluated by the college, and the high school and the college work together, that can be offered for college credit. So an individual student might take an English course at the high school, they're high school students with a qualified teacher, a teacher who meets higher education teaching standards and or has the credentials, and they take that course in the high school. They're then able to get college credit for that. It saves them money. There is typically little to no fee, or sometimes a nominal cost to students and districts, and then they get to they save money and they can go on to the community college or to the university and carry those credits with them. We have seen really an explosion in dual credit in the state really over the last 10 years. But certainly we're still seeing, even coming out here post-pandemic, we're seeing a growth every year. We've seen a growth in the spring report. You can see the data there. It's really a phenomenal opportunity for parents to save money, for students to get early college credit. And the research shows that students who do dual credit tend to persist. They tend to go on in college. They tend to graduate at higher rates. So it's a win-win all the way around for the state.
If you can look into your crystal ball a little bit and tell us, what does this look like as kind of the semesters go on and the quarters go on? Do we continue to see that, and how do you sort of continue to present this as an attractive option for anyone who's looking at their future?
Yeah, yeah. So it's a pretty hot job market out there. I think, every organization or institution has seen that internally, trying to hire and employees and workers have some options. And typically community college enrollment has kind of an inverse relationship with that. But on the other hand, you have community colleges have learned many lessons in the last couple of years. And I think they're executing on those lessons and doing things like making taking that 16-week traditional semester, making it 8 weeks, making it 6 weeks, doing competency-based type of education where people can move at their own pace. I mean, colleges are figuring this stuff out, but they're figuring out new delivery methods and new delivery modes that will appeal to students. We have colleges out there that are offering courses on Saturdays, or they're offering evening career courses, and doing all kinds of innovative things to keep people coming. So I'm optimistic that we'll continue to see upward trends. I think we've got to continue to be nimble and flexible, and the community colleges proved they could do that in the pandemic, and I think that will continue.
All right, Brian Durham, thank you so much for taking the time this week. Some good insights into what we're seeing in Illinois.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.